A girl grew up without ever feeling joy, sadness, or fear. Later, she became the world's leading expert on emotions, mapping them, defining them, perfecting their logic. But here's the real question. Can understanding a feeling ever replace actually having one? Elias, the world arrived without a soundtrack of feeling. From his earliest memories, reactions seemed like a foreign language everyone else had instinctively learned. Where others wept, he observed. Where they erupted in laughter, he noted the facial contractions and the rise in decibels. It was data, not experience. His parents first called it a phase. But by his 8th birthday, the truth was a quiet, chilling presence in their home. During a school project about a perfect day, his classmates drew scenes of birthday parties and soaring kites. Elias presented a meticulously detailed schematic of his bedroom ceiling, annotated with the dimensions and the pattern of cracks in the plaster. "This is where I am most content," he stated, to the teacher's bewildered silence. The diagnosis, when it came, was a clinical term: severe Alexithymia. The emotional centers of his brain were not damaged, the scans showed. They were simply disconnected, an archipelago with no bridges to the mainland of his conscious thought. But here is the haunting question. What if the very thing he was missing was the master key to understanding everyone else? "Can you fix him?" his mother asked the neurologist, her own voice thick with the very thing her son lacked. "We can't rebuild a bridge that was never drawn on the map," was the gentle, devastating reply. On the drive home, Elias watched the world blur past. "What does your sadness feel like?" he asked his father. "Is it a weight, a color, a temperature?" His father, a man of few words, struggled. "It's a cold, heavy stone in your chest, and the world loses its color." Elias nodded, cataloging the metaphor. Cold, heavy, chromatic desaturation. But what was the substance of the stone? This was the moment his life's purpose crystallized. If he could not feel, he would comprehend. He would map the territory so completely that the map would become the territory. He became a scholar of sensation. He devoured neuroscience, psychology, philosophy. In a university lecture hall, a professor introduced the hard problem. How do electrical storms in gray matter become the crimson of rage, or the warmth of nostalgia? How does objective biology birth subjective life? The philosopher Thomas Nagel argued you could know every physical fact about a bat's sonar and still not know what it is like to be a bat. Another, Daniel Dennett, countered that with enough knowledge, the subjective could, in principle, be understood or even constructed. To know the symphony's score is not to hear the music. So, I want you to think about this. Can a perfect description of a feeling ever be the same as having it? This philosophical rift became his battlefield. He believed Dennett. If he could accumulate every fact, decode every neural pattern, he could simulate the experience. Knowledge would be his prosthesis. He earned a doctorate, then led a team pioneering synaptic-level neural mapping. By his late 30s, he had authored the definitive framework, a calculus of feeling. He could reduce any human emotion to its precise electrochemical signature. He became famous. The man who had never felt a thing was now the world's foremost authority on feeling. A neuroengineering conglomerate, Avum, recruited him. Their goal, a brain-computer interface, to regulate and ultimately generate emotional states. They had the hardware. Elias provided the ultimate software, the full spectral library of human emotion. After years of work, the prototype was ready. The Avum CEO offered him the first trial. "We can begin with joy," she said. But this leads to the ultimate test, the one scientists have debated for centuries. If you perfectly replicate the brain's activity for an emotion, does consciousness automatically follow? Elias sat in the sterile chair, sensors adorning his scalp like a crown of thorns. The team watched, breath held. This was the culmination, the moment the map would finally animate. "Initiating sequence," the CEO said. A hum filled the room. Seconds ticked by. Elias's face remained a placid lake. No tremor, no smile, no tears. "Is it active?" he asked, his voice flat. "It is. Full protocol. You feel nothing?" Elias looked inward, analyzing the feedback. He noted a slight increase in ventral striatum activity, a dopamine precursor pattern matching the joy template exactly. I detect the correlated neural patterns. They are correct." He paused. "But there is no translation." The room deflated. The experiment was a perfect technical success and a profound human failure. The objective facts were present in his brain. The subjective experience, the qualia, was absent. Nagel had been right. There was an unbridgeable gap. The final frontier of understanding is not outer space, but inner experience. But what happens when someone finally builds a bridge to that frontier? Not to visit, but to conquer. Elias's journey revealed a darker truth. Avon's next step was clear. If they could not give him feeling, they could use his perfect maps to predict and influence feeling in others. His life's work, a quest for personal understanding, was now a blueprint for potential mass manipulation. The architecture of emotion could be used to sell, to persuade, to control. His knowledge didn't grant him feeling. Instead, it exposed the vulnerability of everyone who could feel. Before we confront what that means for our future, let's talk about protecting your own inner world. Elias left Iavum. His great theory was complete, yet his life's question unanswered. He now walks through a world he understands intimately but cannot inhabit. He sees a couple argue and can diagnose the amygdala hijack and cortisol surge. He watches a sunset and can list the wavelength shift and the nostalgic hippocampal pattern it triggers in others. So, here is the final, most unsettling question for you. If our inner experiences can be perfectly mapped from the outside, what truly remains of our free will and our private selves? The mystery is solved, yet it remains. He possesses the keys to the cathedral of human emotion, but is forever standing outside, reading the architectural plans. Science provided every answer except the one that mattered, what it is like. And in doing so, it revealed that our feelings, our conscious inner world, are both our most private possession and our greatest point of potential external control. The quest to understand consciousness may be the final frontier, and its answers could either liberate us or define new cages. If this exploration of the mind's deepest mystery resonated with you, please like this video. It truly helps our channel, Philosophy for Brave Mind, grow, and subscribe for more journeys to the edges of understanding. Thank you for watching. Elias stepped outside Avum's towering glass structure for the last time. The sunlight touched his skin, warm and gentle. But inside, nothing stirred. The city stretched before him, millions of people carrying storms, sunrises, secrets, and wounds deep within their chests. He could describe all of them, predict most of them, but join none of them. The street below moved with human rhythm. A child cried over a fallen ice cream cone. Two teenagers laughed too loudly, sharing earbuds between them. A couple whispered through an argument, hoping no one would hear. Every face was a perfectly open book to him. Yet every chapter was written in a language he could never speak. For the first time since he was a boy, Elias didn't take notes. He simply watched, not as a scientist, not as a philosopher, just as a witness, standing beside a world he would forever be separated from. But a question followed him like a shadow. If understanding emotions could not make him feel them, then why had he ever wanted that understanding at all? He left the city and retreated to a quiet town by the coast, a place where the world slowed down, where thoughts became louder, and the ocean seemed endless. He rented a small home on a cliff overlooking the water. Every morning he sat on the balcony with a notebook, not to map emotion anymore, but to map the emptiness where emotion should have been. If feelings were a language, perhaps silence had its own dialect too. For months, he lived in a kind of stillness. No ambition, no laboratories, no deadlines, just the wind, the ocean, and a mind that refused to rest. Then, one evening, his tablet buzzed, a message from someone he never expected to hear from again. Dr. Mara Lorne, former head of ethics at Avum, one of the few people who had warned him quietly, privately, that his research could be twisted into something else. Her message was short. "Elias, they're using your work. We need to talk." Elias stared at the words. He felt no fear, but he recognized the shape of fear. He felt no anger, but he recognized its outline. He typed only one word. "When?" They met at a small cafe by the sea. Mara looked tired, exhausted in a way that no sleep could fix. Her hands trembled slightly as she lifted her cup. Elias read her stress like text on a page. Elias, she began softly, Avum has repurposed your emotional calculus. Not to help people, but to influence them. He waited. They're calling it Sentinel, she continued. A system that reads a person's digital footprint, every post, every search, every message, and generates the exact emotional trigger needed to guide their decisions. Guide, Elias repeated, quietly. A manipulation, she said. A subtle one, so subtle that people believe the choices are their own. Elias watched the steam curl upward from his cup, a perfect spiral, predictable, inevitable. You built the map, she whispered. They built the weapon. He looked at her. You're asking me to stop them. I'm asking you, she said, whether you still believe knowledge should serve the one who holds it, or the one it describes. The question carried a weight he could not measure, but he understood its gravity. Elias agreed to see Sentinel. Mara guided him through a secure facility, a place once dedicated to research, now transformed into a command center for emotional control. Screens lined the walls, each one displaying real-time emotional heat maps of millions of people. Red for anger, blue for sadness, gold for joy. Human inner lives reduced to data points, tracked, analyzed, manipulated. Lucian Hale, Sentinel's director, greeted him with a polished smile. A smile tuned perfectly, warm enough to seem friendly, controlled enough to seem trustworthy. Elias recognized it instantly as a designed expression. Elias, Lucian said, the architect returns to the cathedral. Elias replied quietly, You've misunderstood my intentions. No, Lucian said gently. You misunderstood human nature. People don't want to manage their emotions. They want someone to manage them for them. We're simply helping. Helping. The most dangerous word in history. Lucian gestured toward the screens. With Sentinel, we can prevent riots before they start, increase cooperation, improve public morale, build a stable world. At the cost of freedom, Elias said. Freedom, Lucian replied, is chaos. But emotions? Emotions are programmable. That night, Elias sat at his desk overlooking the moonlit ocean. No anger, no fear, but he sensed the shape of something, a silent urgency forming inside the emptiness. He opened his old notebooks, page after page of formulas, diagrams, neural maps. All the knowledge he had once believed would lead him to understanding, now twisted into a tool to control millions. Could he undo what he had created? Could he rewrite something built on his own architecture? Or would he have to destroy it completely? A quiet realization came over him. Maybe his purpose had never been to feel like others. Maybe his purpose was to protect what he could not experience. The mystery of emotion, the fragility of inner life, the unpredictable chaos that made people human. Perhaps his inability to feel was the very reason he could defend those who could. With calm certainty, a certainty others might call conviction, Elias made his decision. He began rewriting the calculus, not to simulate emotion, not to generate it, but to break predictability, to restore randomness, to make emotional maps unreliable, to protect the inner world from intrusion. He called it the Uncertainty Protocol, a shield for human feeling. But to activate it, he would need to return to Sentinel, to the heart of the machine built on his work. He would not fight with rage. He would not fight with fear. He would fight with pure, relentless understanding, the one weapon no algorithm could predict. A quiet question slipped from his lips. Can a man without emotions fight for the emotions of everyone else? Perhaps that was his curse. Perhaps that was his gift. Perhaps it was both. Humanity deserved its mystery, its unpredictability, its fragile freedom, and he was ready to protect it, even if he would never be part of it. If emotions were the cathedral of human life, then Elias would be the silent guardian standing outside its gates, holding the only key that he himself could never use.